Quantum Physics 101 continued. The EMT looked at Elise on the floor. After her examination, pupils mostly equal and reactive. A slight difference in left pupil, possible minor concussion. You say she was sitting here and then fell backwards? Charlie nodded. Was thrown backwards, more like. She could easily have cracked her skull. Linoleum ain't all that kind of bones. She bent forward and gently lifted Elise's head from the stretcher, feeling for dampness. Oh, ho, there we are. Skin doesn't appear to be broken by palpation, but she's got a hell of a goose egg back here. She's going to have a doozy of a headache when she wakes up. She watched as the upper straps were secured by her partner. One hand could clearly be seen, still tightly clutching the wooden tube. What is that thing? The black EMT asked. It's called the lens, Janet announced, startling everyone. Jesus, I forgot you were even back there, Thorne, Lucero muttered. Gee, thanks, sir. The EMT cleared her throat. The lens? Is it some kind of telescope or something? Or something. It's an antique. Charlie could think of nothing else to say. Well, whatever it is, we'll make sure it stays in her possession one way or the other, okay? She smiled up at Charlie, who smiled back at the EMT, relief clear in his expression. That would be great. Really great. Thanks. Friend of yours? She asked, tilting her head. Lucero inhaled. Witness? Working on a case? Rosary murders. Oh, wow. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I know about that. Everyone knows about that. Yep. Charlie sounded distracted. Name? Sorry, Lucero was confused. I'm Detective Lucero. No. Patient's name? What is this gal's name? Charlie crouched down again, facing the EMT. Elise's still small form between them. Elise. Her name is Elise. Elise Campbell. ID? Oh, God. Charlie glanced quickly at Lucero. I didn't see her come in with a purse or anything, just the lens and the case in a bag. The EMT glanced around the room quickly. That the case? Round box in the corner there with a grocery bag? Lid here? She pointed to the lid, which had been pushed towards the wall. Yeah, 1 second. She's going to want to know where these are too, I bet. Charlie said as he stood up quickly. He picked up the box and lid and put them back in the grocery bag. If you can just make sure that this is at her side when she wakes up, it is important, really. Of course, no problem. The EMT took the bag from Charlie and set it on top of Elise's belly, tucking the bag handles under one strapped arm. She nodded at her partner, who was stooped and holding the bottom of the stretcher. She bent down and grabbed the upper corners at her side. All right, on 2. 1, 2. The stretcher rose up off the floor in a single smooth lift. And here we go. She backed out the door and into the hallway. Her partner followed her out and then led them backwards down the hallway, glancing over his shoulder to see where he was going. Always have to have someone going backwards. He's better at it than I am. She called over her shoulder at Lucero as he watched from the doorway. Janet now trapped behind him and unable to see out into the hallway. Charlie was trotting down the hall in front of them, having made his way out the door at the emergency techs were maneuvering the stretcher through the doorway. The techs followed him out the main entrance to the ambulance. The waiting driver saw them coming and quickly came around to the side. He opened the back doors and jumped up into the ambulance to help guide the stretcher in and lock it in place before squeezing his way back out and past again. Both EMTs jumped in and started to close the doors. Wait! Charlie pulled out his wallet out of a back pocket and fumbled to get one of his business cards out. Managed to pull out half a dozen and drop them all, watching them land on the ground in a scatter. Shit, he muttered, quickly picking up one card. See she gets this. Have her call me when she can. Have the doctor call me. We need to know when she wakes up. He'd almost said if. He immediately dismissed the thought. The black EMT smiled at him again. We'll take good care of her, officer. Don't worry. She nodded and closed the doors. The ambulance engine started up and pulled away from the entrance. Sirens and lights going as soon as they approached the driveway. Charlie stood there for a moment. Sighing, he turned and made his way back into the station. They'd be wanting a debrief ASAP. He was not ready for that. He went to the men's bathroom and closed the door, locking it behind him. Part 3. Graduation. Red means danger. Renardo wasn't looking for no trouble. He didn't want no trouble. He was perfectly happy minding his own business, staying the hell away from the quarry side of the little wooded park area that buffered the neighboring houses and the old quarry perimeter. He did not need to even look in that direction. He'd found the perfect place from which to make his slow, shuffling orbit, a small grassy area surrounded by dirt paths made by people passing through as a shortcut from the residential area to the main service streets. This was where the likelihood was highest of finding dropped food, beverages, and surprisingly often electronic devices. 2 metal trash cans, bright shiny steel with lids chained to the cans, were placed diagonally from each other, the city's attempt to keep litter from accumulating in the area. Reynardo felt he was doing his civic duty by helping remove trash as well. Too bad the city couldn't see it that way. Sliding his feet along the rough dirt path as it wound around and around, Reynardo could see any possible foot traffic coming in from all directions. Not that he wanted to see any of that, as well as brief glimpses as cars drove past the streets, which he also did not want to see. Still, it was nice to know if he was alone or if he should be expecting company, as it were. He snorted to himself. He couldn't remember the last time he'd been in the company of any other humans. Well, except for that situation with the quarry, and his mind immediately shifted away from that memory. He definitely did not want to be remembering that. Every now and then a flash of light would catch his attention, and he would glance up at the overpass that connected Clear Lake City Boulevard with Highway 3. Usually one bright, brief glimpse of a silver chrome fender, and then is quickly gone just like that. Reynardo thought it was a fitting parallel for life. Nothing shiny lasts forever. Sometimes other things would catch his attention on the ground. Bright colors usually meant something new, maybe fresh, certainly not handled much. Bright yellow was his favorite color. Bags of chips, box of crackers and cookies, and beer labels, yellow could often signal something good. Blues and greens were nice too. Sometimes candy and candy bars were in multicolored packages, so he was always on the lookout for those. But red was not a color Reynardo looked for. Nothing good ever came from red. Roses might be red, but had nasty thorns. Stop signs and signals were sometimes red, and you definitely did not want to move one step if you saw red there. Hot metal was red and would take the skin off your fingers if you touched it. He knew that personally. Blood is red. Red means trouble, for sure. Red means danger. From trouble comes danger. He wanted nothing at all to do with that, thanks very much, which is why he intentionally refused to see any red cars crossing the overpass if he happened to glance up by mistake. Reynardo tried very hard not to even look up at the overpass. He knew about the red car alert for the neighborhood. He'd seen the flyers posted on neighborhood light posts. Why the city didn't just come in and put a damn camera thing up there if they were so concerned about red cars going in and out of the area, he couldn't understand. They had cameras everywhere else. Inside the Circle K, outside the Target store, in the parking lots, for God's sake. If they could put them in parking lots, couldn't they put them on an overpass? Reynardo just shook his head and muttered to himself, purposefully ignoring the 3 flashes of red he had just seen crossing the overpass. 1 from the south, 2 from the north. Nope. He hadn't seen a thing. Not ever going to see a thing, ever again. Not if he had anything to say about it. Reynardo's mind landed briefly on the image of a small head with dark hair under a bit of shrub before he shoved that too behind him. Not his problem. Not his business. No, thank you.